So this big piece of high-speed steel, which is marked, looks like it's marked Vasco Supreme. I guess I should probably put that aside, put that in my high-speed steel in case I ever want to grind myself a forming tool or something. Also included in that metal lot was this box full of stuff. There's a brand new piece of high-speed steel. Alright, this I can clearly see. This is Vasco Supreme, 1/2 inch. Yeah, there's another one piece. There's some brazed carbide bits in this pile too, so I'm going to separate it all out. Well, I'm a ways through this whole sorting through this pile, and right now I'm beginning to think that these two cotter pins that I found right here are going to be the first things I'll end up actually having a use for out of this pile. There's a lot of junk in here. I guess there's a couple of decent things. This is all the high-speed steel I pulled out of here, and it kind of runs the gambit. There's a couple of absolutely brand new unused pieces. Here's an unused one that's really small. And then there's some that have just been, well, quite frankly, ground to death, so those will probably just go in the scrap pail. I got a lot of this little metal rod here. Not sure what I'm going to use that for. Little round cutoffs. Some of them are too short for me to probably do anything with. And I still got to go through here and sort. I got one boring bar here that's interesting. Looks like that's got a carbide piece brazed on the end. It's got some interesting grinding work done on it. That's a little short. Somebody's got a little punch that looks like they ground several times over the years. It's funny. I got some brazed carbide tip cutters over here. These may be okay. These right here, they're chipped, broken, and would need to be reground, which I'm not going to bother doing because they're carbide. So those will go in the scrap pile. This material here, I don't know what this is. This has been ground. This piece too. It's been ground to be a cutter, but I'm not sure what that material is even made out of. This is actually a stone. Couldn't even tell, it was so dirty. Here's an empty cardboard box. Used to be for a 3/16 inch die holder. And this little box right here is full of carbide inserts, miscellaneous ones here. So we'll have to put those with the other uncharted carbide inserts for now. But this isn't where the money is in this pile. Well, most of you probably figured out that's pretty obvious. But I did pick up a couple other chunks he had laying around there, and that all went in this lot. So here's a piece. It's about 4 3/4 inch in diameter, and it's bored to about 1.5 inches, 2 inches on this side with a 1 inch hole. Other than that, it's a solid piece of steel. So that's a good piece. I also scored these pieces out of that lot. This is some steel bar, a couple of pieces about almost 14 inches long. It's pretty thick, good sized pieces. Here's a round cutoff. It looks like it's about 3 inch. And then a couple more pieces of this oil hardened stuff. So this is marked all over it. Low carbon, low carbon, low carbon. So I guess that's not oil hardened. My mistake. I thought that was one of those red stare-at stickers alerting me to the properties of that steel. There's a chunk there. Painted red on the end. So I guess that would indicate something to the knowledgeable person in the metal yard as to the makeup of that stuff. And then these two big pieces right here, a couple of nice bars of steel. So that's what I really wanted, and the other stuff was just kind of gravy. One other little interesting item I found in this pile of garbage is this little piece right here, and it's marked Magni Clamp, M-A-G-N-E. I'm sorry, Magni Cast, and I looked it up and took a little bit of searching, but apparently this is part of a magnetic welding clamp, so for electrical welding. But the patents online don't show this piece, so I think this is actually missing something. The ones that they show online look more like, well, actually, they more look like this thing right here, which when I originally snagged this thing at the used tool store, I didn't pay that price for it. I actually thought that this would be like to put an indicator or something on maybe. And I'm now believing that I think this is actually a magnetic ground clamp for arc welding or welding. As you could see, you could put an eyelet right on there, cable with an eyelet on there, put another, well, you probably don't even need another nut. But anyways, that's what I think this is. But I'm not sure how you were supposed to use this. You know, it's funny, the more that I look at this, the more this looks like it should be like an auxiliary jaw for a vise. It's got these two V grooves, a vertical and a horizontal, and the shape of it, it's got this ridge that runs around the outside edge on three sides, almost making it look like it should be able to sit down into a over a vise job. So I think there might have been originally a pair of these, and you put these over your these might be soft jaws for a vise. And the magnet on the back here, those two strips of magnetic material right there would keep it in place on the jaw. Betcha that's what that is. These jaws are too wide, but in other words, I think that this originally was made to go down over the top of a jaw like this, and then the magnets would keep it on there, so when you open the jaw up, they wouldn't fall off. Huh. Interesting. Hey everybody, I was just editing part 2 of the Odds and Sods series, and realized that it was actually very short. So I decided that I'm just going to add a couple of items I just scored at the flea market this past weekend. Nothing really that great. Actually, this is the only item I got at the flea market. I went through the whole place and picked this rusty parallel clamp, machinist clamp, nice size one. Looks like it's pretty well made. I was like, boy, I've already got quite a few of these, but I thought, well, this is a little bit larger one. And I was wondering, hey, I wonder if underneath all this rust, if it's actually like a Starrett or something. And I was kind of contemplating whether or not I wanted this thing, and the lady saw me looking at it, whose booth it was, and she says, it's kind of rusty. I probably need a little bit of oil. And I said, yeah. I was about to put it down, and she said, she said, it's only $1. So I said, okay. So I got this for $1. This is probably the cheapest machinist clamp I've ever bought. It's a good size one, though. So I'm going to give it a quick little zip over there on the wire wheel and see what we can come up with. Well, let's see what we got here. Cleaned up pretty nicely, actually. Well, I'm pretty sure it's not a Starrett, because every Starrett marked pair that I've ever owned were clearly marked in this area on one of the flats on the side. And I don't see anything there. That's funny how the eyes can play tricks on you sometimes, just the way the light hits some pitting makes it almost look like it says something, but I don't think that's anything.
Thought maybe I saw something, so I cleaned it up a little bit with a Scotch-Brite pad and some of this cleaner. But nope, I'm convinced there's no markings on the sides. I'm just going to take these out and clean up the threads here, clean up the end there, and a couple drops of oil to make this a happier clamp. All right. Actually, right now I don't even need the oil. It's fine just the way it is. Just cleaning off the rust made a big difference. Of course, the key also to smooth operation is keeping them parallel. Speaking of rusty pieces of crap, guy I've known for quite a few years, he does flea markets, and sometimes I see him at the tractor show, and I always stop and talk to him, and I tell him what I buy, and I happen to mention to him, you know, hey, you get any big, large Morse tapered drill bits and stuff like that? He said, you know, I said to him, I said, hey, I'd be interested. Give me a ring. He lives literally like an eighth of a mile away from my house here. But the funny thing is, I ran into him on a job I was doing this past Sunday, and before we got started, he says, hey, I got something for you. He goes over to his truck, and he brings this to me, and he says, hey, is this something you might be able to use? I talked to him about reamers at one point too. I explained to him. I said, yeah, that's a standard reamer there. But I said, if you see the ones that are adjustable, those are a little more useful. But he says, yeah, you go ahead and you can have it. He said this is something he normally throws in his bucket of dollar items. So let people pick through them $1 a piece. So I said, oh, thanks. So this is an 1 1/8, and this is I believe this is a Cleveland twist drill reamer. I don't know if this has any other markings on it. This is an 1 1/8, obviously at its widest point, but it's kind of interesting. It's got such a taper on the end there. So this is interesting. This is marked. This is marked 1 1/8 .005, and E668, Cleveland Twist Drill Company. So does that mean that it's once you ream the hole, it'll be 5 thousandths over 1 1/8? I bet you that's what that means. Well, anyways, it was a freebie, so I just, not actually too bad. It looks like it's actually in pretty decent shape. I'll put it in with the rest of them. The rest of the obscure giant reamers I may never use, but, well, guys, I guess that should be enough for this video. I think I padded this enough. Hey, if you like what you see, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Hopefully I remembered to put the subscribe button in this video right about here. I don't know. Anyways, take care.